And I really do welcome and to work with that. And one of the biggest problems that we have, Chairperson, is money that is owed to this department that is simply not paid. We have 13.7 billion rand owed by the top 20 clients of this department that represents 99% of our total debtors book. We have former MPs, members of the executive, and current MPs that owe us millions of rands for service charges in state-owned property. We just simply refuse to pay. We cannot operate as a department when people who owe us money, who are state departments, and who are members and who work for the state, just simply refuse to pay what is owed to us. We have some members that owe us over 300,000 rand, and that is just simply, it's not workable. We financially cannot exist if people don't want to pay us. And so we really do ask the committee's assistance to help us recover money from client departments, former MPs, current MPs who owe this department money. I do want to say that we have also taken critical decisions to ensure that we get projects back on track, but also that we institutionalize recommendations of the Auditor General. And to that extent, I want to say that I recognize that the department in previous years, financial years, has fallen way short of where it should be in terms of financial reporting. It has been unable to deliver interim financial results. That is going to change. It has been unable to account on time for monies and for projects. That is going to change. And so with the support and the oversight of the committee, I know that we will be able to get to the point of delivering solid, credible results in terms of our audit. Because we know that clean audits in themselves are not representations of service delivery, but they go a long way to ensure that service delivery does happen. So, Chair, with those few words, let me thank you for the opportunity to address the committee, for their support in helping us dealing with the many challenges that we find ourselves in. Some of these things are bitter pills to swallow, but we will swallow them nonetheless, because it is the medication that we desperately need to be able to put our department back on track. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Morning to you. Good morning, Minister, person who is indeed a friend of mine. Very taking when I arrived in Cape him and doing Cape Town with a few who are served with the first we have been friends since then. Happy that you are a minister of government. Something that I will never forget. She makes my life very difficult for what she said, but I'm proud that I'm appearing before you to account on the responsibilities that we have been given. I'm proud of what you have been able to achieve and the fact that the organization that you belong to decided to give you a responsibility. And I know that you won't fail. You have never failed in the responsibilities that you have been given before. And you will start now. You have many women who contribute to your achieve. I know some of them here. I think most of them that are here. And we will have to make it possible for you to succeed in your responsibilities. Teaching, knowledge of your presence here at the DNC board and the team from SAPS, the team from the Auditor General's office. We are honored to be part of this meeting today. We understand the role that the committee plays.
Infrastructure portfolio, then I'll just go straight to the last member contributions himself. After all members have introduced themselves, I'll give it to Nola to introduce the team from our support staff. Then I'll give it to Minister Makese to introduce his team, and also Dear Machari to introduce his team. Lastly, it will be the AG led by Tintswalo. The Tintswalo that the president has said, Tintswalo is born. So we've got Tintswalo in the house, we'll introduce the team. And after introduction, will then take us through your report. Honorable Makamu, you can take.
And greetings to everyone. I'm Sipo Matangu, a member of this portfolio committee. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Fana Misano Okola. I'm a member of parliament in this committee representing the minister. Thank you.
Morning, everyone. I'm member of this committee. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. Dylan McCray Barth, representing the Democratic Alliance, also a member of this committee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sierra Kama. I'm representing the Control Civil Party. I'm a member of this committee.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nachi Maro. I'm a member of this committee and I represent the Congress. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair, Minister, Deputy Minister, distinguished colleagues. My name is Basil Reddy and I'm the Controversies We're Party. Just to give you a short note, that at 6:30 this morning, we were all ready in the vehicles waiting to come here. So that is the team that you see before you. We are serious about the business at hand, as the Chair stated. And also, we're not in the habit of finding a problem for every solution. We're here to find solutions to every problem. Thank you, Chair.
Greetings are straight to the House at large. I'm Madam Gove. I represent Action SA and I'm the Full Council.
Thank you very much. Greetings to the ladies, the ATM, and the team, Chelsea, and the staff as well. My name is Ethel Nkosi, the member of this committee representing ANC. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson, Honorable Members, Honorable Minister, Honorable DM, the DG, and the colleagues at large. The name is Nola Matinisa. I support the Portfolio Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure as a secretary. To the Chairperson's rights, there is Mr. Denison, Mr. Shoaib Denison, who is the content advisor of the committee. And then to my left, just behind, the honorable members, there's Ms. Sitabiso Nikage, who's the committee assistant. Next to Tabiso is Ms. Inez Stephanie. Next to Ms. Stephanie is Shireen. Next to Ms. Sherry, not sure if she's visiting the sign as well. We've got our colleague from the communications unit, Mr. Jabulani Majosi, who is not alone. He's also with the parliamentary photographer, the official photographer of Parliament, Mr. Panubas Chigelo. As the chair said, the meeting is live streamed on all parliamentary socials and will be broadcast on channel later. So we've got Mr. Oyo Chumela on the camera, and then lastly we have Mr. Apanandela, who is doing the live streaming. Thank you, Honorable Chairs. We also have our protection officers, Ms. Nobutula Joga. We also have Mr. Sia Ban, Mr. Bohad as well is is part of the team that is parliamentary protection services. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Let me introduce my team, led by the Director General, Mr. Sifiso Indukani, our newly full-time appointed DDG for Governance and Risk. There was Mkwangu, he was appointed full-time yesterday. So good to you. Then, of course, the important action that we've done to bring full-time stability to that department. We have the DDG for Real Estate Management, Ms. India Taylor, the lady. We then have the DDG for Corporate Services, Ms. CJ Abrahams. We have our very able, competent, dedicated, extremely talented CFO, Manuel Sekole. He always deserves the extra mention. We have our DDG for EPWP, Mr. Tonto. We have our DDG for Facilities Management, Mr. Samuel. We have our Head of Audit Expenditure, Ms. Rindani. And then we have the DDG for IGR, Mr. Adam Interben. So we have a very strong, capable and able team that is here to take us through the annual performance report. So over to you, DG.
Good morning. Commitment by both but I'll try to talk. We just also want to indicate also the head of PLT. It's also DDG construction in Scaffield. And then also DDG for PMO, Mr. Samuel Ron class. Thank you very much.
Acting DIC, Lieutenant General Wah, who is on my right. We also have Lieutenant General Fani, head of supply chain management division. General Storage, management. General Storage, why are you? Oh, yeah. That's the planning is also in facility. Thank you very much. And then to meet and
Good morning, Honorable Chair, honorable members, Minister, Deputy Minister, thank you so much for having us. My name is Kumail Maver. I'm the business unit leader responsible for the portfolio of public works and infrastructure. With me on my right is Consuelo Marcia, she's the deputy business unit leader, and together we are responsible for this portfolio. To her right is Sipu, she's the senior manager responsible for the audit of IDT and the department. And then on my left, I've got Anne, she is at IDT. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being introduced. It means we know each other now, we can feel free. We'll request the presenter, which is Ntwalo, to come and sit at that right corner because the museum must pick you up. And everybody must see you. You can't present from the back. We are requesting you to take that seat. Or you can come this side.
So did you listen?
If you come on. While we are waiting for the person who's coming to present from the AG side, I want to take this opportunity and say, in the interest of time, can you not go through the slides? You might find you have more than 50 slides, but talk to them. Try to minimize the reading, but talk to facts. Reggie said it correctly. We are very much cultural. We were taught, and actually I was taught at my early days to be when I was deployed by Comrade Matani. I will pay Comrade Matani for now to be the mayor of Musina. My first meeting, I arrived when they were done, and it would not be harsh to me. He said, "Welcome our last born to your next meeting." So very early. And I could not understand why is he saying I'm early for the next meeting. That day I was late for that meeting. So I took up from that. I'm always early. I've improved from that lesson to say I'm early for the next meeting. So we're always punctual. That's one thing this committee does very well. It's for us to respect time. And then you can take us through.
Chairperson, maybe just before we start with the presentation, just would like to give a brief overview. So thank you for the opportunity to brief you on the 23-24 audit outcomes. Unfortunately, today we're only able to brief you on the outcomes of the department and CIDP, considering that we haven't finalized the audits for PNTE and IDT. I think for PNTE, they had the unfortunate cyber attack during the beginning of the year, and then the financial statements were only submitted by the end of June. With the escalated risk and everything, and the fact that we didn't receive interim financial statements, we literally started the audit on the receipt of the financial statements. We are done with the audit, we are busy with the final discussions, and we hope that we will be able to sign at least definitely before the end of the month. I don't want to put the date on that. And then in terms of IDT, we did receive the financial statements late. We did receive the financial statements on time. Apologies for that. There is quite a bit of risk environment. We did conclude the audit in August, and there has been extensive discussion since then, trying to align with the IDT and management on the findings that we've identified. The IDT indicated that in terms of our engagement, they can follow a dispute process whereby different levels of organization come into play to also then consider some of the findings and to also then give independent review. So they indicated that they would want to follow that dispute process, and at this moment we're then following that process, and the finalization will be dependent on concluding that process. But as I say, it is all within our agreement and arrangements that they can escalate certain matters that they feel they haven't been properly heard on their points. With that, I would like to give over to Sisipu, and I'm sure she will take your guidance and make sure that we stick within the time. Thank you so much, James.
Good morning to the Honourable Minister, the Deputy Minister, the Honourable Chairperson, and the House at large. My name is Sisipo Ovela. I'm the Senior Manager for Public Works and PMT. I will be presenting our slides on the budgetary review and recommendations report for the Public Works portfolio. I was trying to get to the next page. Here I will just be talking briefly to our mission and vision as the Auditor General. As the Auditor General of South Africa, we've got a constitutional mandate as the Supreme Audit Institution to strengthen our country's democracy by enabling oversight, accountability, and governance in the public sector through the work that we do, which is auditing, and thereby we build public confidence. And our vision is to be recognized by all our stakeholders as a relevant Supreme Audit institution that enhances public sector accountability. As it was mentioned earlier, we have what is called an accountability ecosystem, and this is what we have as part of our strategy to shift the public sector culture into a culture where there's performance, there's accountability, there's transparency and integrity, and where auditors are actually moving into doing good. With this accountability ecosystem, we are recognizing that as the Auditor General, we cannot do this alone. We have a network of stakeholders that we are partnering with, and really the stakeholders are talking to the leadership in the department and the entities, as well as the decision makers. And we also refer to support and oversight. What we intend with this accountability ecosystem is for everyone to work together towards shifting a public sector culture. And as the Auditor General, our role here is to provide insights through the audit work that we do, and we influence the auditees, the portfolio, to move in the culture, to move towards a culture of performance and accountability. And we do this through our recommendations. And where that did not work, we then move into enforcement, which is where we will be using our rights or our added rights in terms of the Public Audit Act. And we do this through our material irregularities, also known as MIs. And all of this work is to really put the lives of the citizens at the center, where we want the citizens to have a better life. The portfolio ecosystem is made up of regulatory agencies, which is, we've got Construction Industry Development Board, the CIDB. We've got the Council for Built Environment, as well as Agriculture South Africa. And we've got the trading entity being a property management trading entity, also known as PMTE, implementing agent being the Independent Development Trust, also known as IDT, and the board, we've got the Parliamentary Village. And we just highlighted as well to say that the 3 audits are still outstanding, being PMTE, IDT, as well as Parliamentary Village. But we'll talk more on that on the next slides, where we are presenting the audit outcomes. In the 2022-23 financial year or cycle, we made recommendations to this committee, which were mainly to increase the number and frequency of condition assessments that is talking to maintenance plans. We also recommended that there should be standardized sector indicators to ensure that the MTSF targets are met. We also recommended for the accounting officer to intensify the actions relating to infrastructure projects in order to successfully implement the mandate. What was our reflections here is that although the maintenance plans have been developed, the department is still unable to attend to all the infrastructure needs, and the plans are still not met. The department also did not develop the standardized indicators for the public works sector. And this is really due to the fact that the sector does not agree, or the sector has not been able to agree what standardized indicators that should be set. We also recommended regarding the recommendations on intensifying the actions relating to infrastructure projects, we noted that the recommendations are still in progress. However, the user departments still do not have services being delivered to them, mainly due to a significant number of projects that are still delayed. Moving on to the overview of the audit outcomes for 2023-24, as well as the past 4 years. The focus really on the highlights for 23-24 is that we see an improvement on CIDB, where they've moved from unqualified with findings in the prior year to unqualified with no findings in 23-24, and we really commend the CIDB team for this significant improvement. But what we want to highlight are the actions that they've done for this improvement. In the prior year, there was material correction relating to billed revenue that is coming from the CIDB Act. Because of the material correction that was done in the prior year to recognize all the revenue relating to this revenue stream, management had then made the material corrections, and the impact in the audit report was that because of the material adjustment, there will then be that non-compliance with PFMA was then reported. But what we've noted in the current year is that management was able to appropriately account for this revenue. We have, however, identified as an emerging risk, considering that CIDB still didn't account or recognize revenue, build-related revenue relating to private sector. And this is because the Act is still not very clear around how how CIDB should account for this revenue. We are aware that the Act is under review, and once it has been approved, CIDB then needs to familiarize themselves with the requirements of the Act and ensure that they account for revenue appropriately. Also, we've got, as I mentioned earlier, there was outstanding audits, 3 of them, PMT and IT, as was reported by the business unit leader, we have issued draft audit reports as well as draft management reports, and currently further engagements are ongoing in terms of finalizing the audit process. I also just want to note that Parliamentary Village has not submitted their financial statements for the past 10 years, meaning that for all these years, they are not able to account for how the funds have been spent, and also we are not able to recommend what action or know what the outcome would be in terms of recommending for them to shift or move into where they can, we can see accountability, transparency, and integrity. Relating to performance planning and reporting on service delivery, what we noted here is that for CIDB, they provided performance reports that are free from material misstatements before audit adjustments. And for public works, the picture didn't change even after they were granted an opportunity to adjust. What we identified here was poor quality planning because there were indicators that were not included in the annual performance plan. Also, some of the achievements that were reported on, rather some of the achievements that were actually achieved were not reported on in the annual performance report, and some of the indicators did not agree to the evidence that was provided. The root causes for not including the indicators in the annual performance plan was due to the lack of appreciation in terms of what is required as the standard indicators from the NTSA and legislative mandates and how those should translate into the strategic documents. Also noting lack of consequence management where regarding findings that have been raised in the prior years as well as current years, as well as a different understanding by senior management on how to report on these indicators. And what we're saying here is that there is a lack of, by not reporting on these indicators or by not including in the annual performance plan, there is lack of transparency. Those indicators that are not included in the annual performance plan, there will be no action towards achieving those indicators, and service delivery would then be impacted. And inaccurate information would be used by users of the annual performance report where indicators that are reported do not agree to the evidence that was provided. Relating to performance against the targets, what this picture depicts is that there was a target that needed to be achieved. If you look, for example, at Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, they did not achieve 41% of their targets, but 98% or almost 99% of the budget that was allocated towards achieving the targets was spent. So what we are seeing here is that they are not able to achieve these in the targets because there are delays in the projects that are being constructed, and the projects are not readily available for use by the user departments. And there is then a ripple impact through the service delivery not happening, and the impact on the lived realities of the South African citizens. We do note that the IDB has managed to achieve at least 95% of their targets, and the spending is more or less aligned to the achievement of their targets. We'll just then go and reflect on the the service delivery, mainly infrastructure. What we are reflecting here is the MTSF targets over the 5-year period. These are targets that Public Works and the portfolio needed to prioritize and include in their annual performance plan and report on these indicators. But what we are seeing, or rather targets, but what we are seeing is that in this picture, majority of these targets are not included in the APPs of the provincial departments as well as the entities. And what this means is that the indicators then, or the targets, are not being, they are not prioritized. Service delivery will not occur relating to these, and there is no tracking of achievement of these indicators. Only a few that have included these indicators, as you will see, depicted by the green. Relating to the infrastructure theme, we have looked at the strategic integrated projects, the procurement strategy of the portfolio, as well as the delayed and cancelled projects. Mainly, the outcome is really related to Public Works. So with the strategic integrated project, also known as SIPs, what we wanted to elevate here is that there are these strategic projects that are set at the government level and they are being tracked by Infrastructure South Africa. These projects should have or are supposed to ensure that there is infrastructure development and services are being rendered. So we commend the department for tracking these SIPs. However, we noted that some of them are in progress and there's one that is not yet started. And really the impact here is that it may result in delays in terms of completing or completion of the project, as well as the ripple effect in terms of services not being delivered to the citizens of South Africa. On the procurement strategies, what we wanted to elevate here was, does the department procure, or during the procurement, is there evaluation criteria considering, or is it designed to identify contractors that have the skills, contractors that would enable projects that are of good quality and that are completed within the right time, as well as the budgeted cost for the project. So what we've identified here on the projects that we looked at was that 3 of them, the considerations in the procurement strategy or the functionality criteria did not consider past projects with similar complexity. So this means that the impact is that the contractors appointed may not necessarily have the capacity and the skill to conduct this project, and an increase in the number of delays due to possible terminations or non-delivery by these contractors. And then the delayed and cancelled projects, they are mostly then the outcome of what I've already indicated in terms of the procurement strategy, as well as the strategic integrated projects. What we are noting here is that there is a huge number of delayed projects, 378, as well as cancelled projects. And what is concerning is actually the value or the budget that was spent on these projects. If you look at the cancelled projects, 4 billion was spent and the project was cancelled. The delayed ones, an amount of 13 billion. This over and above being potentially fruitless expenditure this amount or this budget could have been utilized elsewhere within the portfolio had the funds been spent properly and ensure that there's delivery of services in other areas, for example, maintenance, which is also an issue in the department, in the portfolio. Here, also on the infrastructure work, what we are reflecting is that, so here we are talking about the projects where we look at them over their life cycle, and we identified deficiencies where there was no progress in addressing the issues around infrastructure challenges. What we noted here is that more than half of the projects were delayed, and these resulted in material irregularities in the different provinces that are indicated here. And the accounting officers of those provinces were notified. And the impact just continues to be a negative effect or impact on service delivery to the public, as well as increased costs towards completing these projects, considering the delays. And what we've identified as the cause for this is inadequate project monitoring of by the consultants and project managers, and lack of consequence management on project managers where there was poor performance. And our recommendation is that we are of the view, or we're of the understanding that these are not new issues, and we have been talking to these issues. What we're appealing for is for the department to enhance their action plans. They have had action plans previously, but these action plans seem not to have been effective. So these action plans need to be enhanced and ensure that there is consequence management where there is poor performance, and also just manage and oversee the cost of the projects, the time that is spent on the project, and ensure that there is a good quality at the end when the project is completed. Here we looked at, or we conducted a conditional assessment where we visited in different provinces, different facilities to understand or determine their safety. So we looked at different safety elements, such as general safety, whether they are adhering or complying with the fire and electrical compliances, the structural safeties, the emergency preparedness, as well as routine maintenance of the facilities. And what we've identified is that the budgets are not prioritized to address maintenance needs. There is lack of preventative maintenance to prevent facilities from deteriorating, and also there's backlogs in addressing maintenance needs of these facilities. And what we identified as a root cause is there's a lack of preventative maintenance plan or schedules, as well as an insufficient maintenance budget. The picture is to just highlight where we identified these issues in the different provinces. Relating to the flood relief, we looked at the Welisizwe Rural Bridges Program, which was to respond to the needs in the rural communities where they require bridges. What we identified here is that there is overpayment, or there was overpayments to suppliers, and these resulted in a material irregularity because of the financial loss due to these overpayments. And what we are recommending here is that management should ensure that there's monitoring of the invoicing and or rather the billing by the contractors, and ensuring that the contractors are being paid in equivalent to the work that they have done. the root causes and the recommendations relating to service delivery, what we are saying here, what we've noted as the root causes, there's a lack of appreciation or misalignment and disregard to MTSF priorities, which is linking to where we have seen that some of their priorities do not find expression in the APP and therefore in the APP of the department and sector, and therefore these will not be reported on. There's also a lack of consequence management to hold senior managers accountable relating to repeat findings as well as non-performance. There's also a lack of understanding in implementing the framework relating to the preparation of the strategic and annual performance plan. And what we are recommending is that the sector should focus, or rather there should be a focus on developing standardized indicators for the sector to ensure that there is consistent expectation on the sector members as a whole, and that these indicators would then be prioritized and find expression in the annual performance plan and performance report. Also ensuring that there is effective consequence management to hold senior management accountable for repeat findings and non-performance. Also, to talk to the level of understanding of the framework, we recommend that the officials be trained to be trained on the strategic planning and on the framework for the preparation of the strategic and annual performance plans. Here we are just talking to the quality of financial reporting, mainly talking to the financial statements. We say that both the IDB and Public Works submitted financial statements that were free from material misstatements. Therefore, there was no material adjustments, and really just want to commend both the department and the entity for this work. We also, although there is some good news, but we are noting that there is still some poor financial planning because in the department, there was an impairment or a significant amount being 77 million. And the bulk of this amount, being 54 million, relates to the work that was done where there was not an adherence to the standard drawings for constructing of the school. So the way that the school was constructed, it was enhanced and beautified, and then this resulted in this amount where now the Department of Basic Education is classifying as fruitless and wasteful because they are not willing to pay for this extra cost because it was not in adherence to the drawings. What we also say is from the submission of the financial statements that are free from material misstatement, we've noted that CIDB has exercised their oversight responsibilities relating to internal controls and maintaining a good control environment. And at the department, the sound control environment or the sound financial management was due to the capable and skilled senior management who ensured that there was controls around the preparation of financial statements and submitted financial statements that were free from errors or material misstatements. We also want to note that I think I've already indicated the emerging risk relating to CIDB because of the new revenue stream on billed fees, particularly relating to how they should account for revenue from private sector. Relating to compliance with key legislation, from the picture we can see that on CIDB there is no material findings, and on Public Works there was one area where there was material findings, material non-compliance, and it's relating to consequence management. I think we've mentioned already a few times around how there is lack of consequence management. But what we've noted from the work that we've performed is that there is no evidence that disciplinary steps are being taken to hold officials accountable for incurring fruitless and wasteful expenditure. Dealing with irregular expenditure, what is important to note on the picture between 2022-23 and 23-24 is that considering that PMTE and IDT have not yet signed off their financial statements, or we have not signed off the audit report, it looks like there is now a reduction in irregular expenditure. But when we are looking at the prior year, that of that 2.4 billion, about 1.98 related to PMTE. So the leading contributor now is only Public Works, but this picture is not complete. And what we're saying here is that this irregular expenditure has not yet been dealt with. Investigations are still ongoing, and the department is awaiting the condonment of the amount. So similar to the irregular expenditure, the fruitless and wasteful expenditure has a similar picture as well. We're all seeing a reduced amount. We're seeing Public Works as the top contributor, but noting that PMT and IDT have not signed, so the picture is not complete. Also, the fruitless and wasteful expenditure has not yet been dealt with because there is the processes of investigation and condonment are still unfolding. On material irregularities, so we will see three here because the focus is really on the departments and the entities that we are reporting on. So this does not include IDT and PMTE. So relating to Public Works, there is three material irregularities that have been raised thus far since the amendment of the Public Audit Act, and they related to procurement and payments. We want to commend the department for resolving the two material irregularities relating to state events and state funerals. And here we're saying that the accounting officer took appropriate actions, which included improving the internal controls. They recovered the financial losses, and there was implementation of consequence management. And thus far, since these material irregularities have been resolved, we have not identified material or issues of similar nature, meaning that the internal controls were sufficiently addressed. One material irregularity that is not yet fully resolved is where the Sizwe bridges, but here we're saying that actions are being taken by the accounting officer. And these actions include developing a standard operating procedure